You know, the thing about winemaking is it all starts in the vineyard. So 70%, I would say 70 to 80% of your quality comes from your grapes. So if you don't get it right in the vineyard, if you don't have the perfect fruit, you're never going to make the type of wine. So my philosophy at Oldenburg is let's get it right in the vineyard. And we're working really hard in the vineyard, you know, to plant the right clones, the right varieties in the right areas, and then bring it back into the winery and then just translate it with not a lot of manipulation in the cellar, translate it into reflecting the terroir. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in the wine world is that winemakers get too involved. They try and cover up the wine maybe with too much oak or too much extraction, and they don't really show a sense of place. And my philosophy at Oldenburg is to try and show the sense of place, try and show how special Rondekop is, you know, how unique this terroir is, and let it speak through the wine. I think Christo brings a totally different dimension to Oldenburg, which I don't think's been here before. Before, you know, we had a lot of farm managers and, you know, they needed a lot of guidance. You know, we had Etienne de Blanche, the viticulturist consultant, coming in on a weekly basis, just guiding, you know, the farm managers through it. You know, with Christo on board, it's like we've got another Etienne. We've got someone with lots of passion, lots of experience, lots of drive, lots of energy, and great people skills. And that helps a lot on a farm like this because, you know, it's one thing working with the vine, but you can't do everything on your own and you need to work with the people, and Christo's extremely good at that. You know, what I've seen in the vineyards now, you know, with Christo involved is that our canopy management is just so much better this year. We're getting, you know, lots of sun on our grapes at the right time. And when the grapes are coming into the winery, we're just getting these lovely fruit flavors, very healthy grapes, nice and loose bunches, and small berries, you know. Syrah, I think this is the smallest Syrah berries I've worked with at Oldenburg, which just shows there's lots of concentration, the vines are happy. You know, when you're making wine, you don't work on a recipe. You take the climatic conditions, you look at the analysis of the grapes, and you put that together and you decide, what am I going to do to get the best possible product at this time? So a lot of science, a lot of chemistry, but then again, you know, you have that gut feeling when you taste something or when you see something, you know, how to go. If I'm walking in the vineyards, I use a lot of those senses. So I don't only look at analysis of the grapes, I taste the grapes, I look at the pips, I look at the fruit profile, and that makes me decide, you know, when to pick. Also, when blending, you know, seeing the different elements in barrel, tasting them, thinking, what will that taste together with that? So you get a feeling. So it's definitely a bit of both. In winemaking, there's a lot of experimentation, and I think as a winemaker, if you stop experimenting, then, you know, it's time to retire. So we're always experimenting with new coopers, new toastings, different times in oak, and seeing how the wine reacts to it. And from there, just tweaking it. And, you know, ideally what I want to do in the long run is not have 20 different type of coopers in the cellar. It's about narrowing it down to 3 or 4 top coopers that you find really works on your terroir. But you know, what might have worked in another area of Stellenbosch on a different vineyard might not necessarily work here. So it's always about finding the right mix in the barrels that you use and then just refining it from there. I don't think you'll be a great winemaker if you don't take risk, but it's all about taking calculated risks. So for example, I love to do natural fermentation on all our white wines and also on our Rhone variety, so on the Syrah and the Grenache, because I feel that brings out the real true essence of the site. But if you've ever done a natural fermentation, you'll know it's quite a tricky affair. You really have to monitor, you know, what the yeast is doing, and you know, if it needs food, you need to give it food. So there's a big scientific approach about watching the risk and knowing when to intervene if necessary. You know, I walk my dogs in these vineyards. I've got 2 little daughters, which we go for walks. We ride around with the buggy in the vineyards. And I think, you know, the more time you spend in a place, the more you see the small differences that you don't normally pick up. So by walking the vineyards, by being here, by experiencing the difference between nighttime and daytime temperature, by coming up Rondekop this time of the morning and feeling how much warmer it is at the top of Rondekop than the bottom, all makes differences and all gets you really thinking about, how is this affecting the vine? And, how can you take it in a certain direction? So during harvest, things can be very stressful. Myself and my team are working really long hours. You can't really switch off because things are happening. We have fermentations happening. So yeah, for me to relax during that time, I spend a lot of time running in the vineyards, up and down. I also spend a lot of time just walking through the vineyards, walking row for row, listening to music or to winemaking podcasts, and really, taking myself to a different place. And it's amazing, the more you walk through the vineyards, the more you look down, the more you pick up the small nuances, things that differ. And it might just, maybe walking, seeing one swirl type changing slightly, some more gravel coming into the swirl, might make you make a decision to, hey, why don't we pick this little section apart? And I think it's about micro-vinifying all these small little lots. Oldenburg is an amazing terroir. My goal is to come in and to learn from the terroir, to try and put all those elements together and to really show the true potential of the site.